Hello and welcome back to Karma Stories. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today, I have some stories for you from the Malicious Compliance subreddit. We're starting off with an HOA story and then moving into two trucking stories. They are epic and you don't want to miss this one. Do me a favor, if you're on Spotify, make sure to follow the podcast, and if you're on YouTube, drop a like on the video because it really does help us out. With that out of the way, let's jump right in. This story comes to us from DodoHead974. Florida HOA Nightmare. Oh, certified mail for all communication? You got it. Posting this now because I no longer live in the house or neighborhood, but at the time, I lived in a lovely cookie cutter neighborhood with an HOA. This was one of those neighborhoods where they finished like 100 homes in the span of a few weeks, and it was common to see 8 or 10 moving trucks on any given weekend. The neighborhood went from ghost town to filled in literally a month. In Florida, most HOAs are required to use certified mail when notifying homeowners of violations. My HOA took this a step further, that all notifications to the board would be through certified mail. Received a violation? Response in certified mail. Requesting a hearing? Certified mail. Want the bylaws? Certified mail. Now, this one might strike you as odd because how would you know to request the bylaws by certified mail if you didn't have the bylaws already, you might ask? Let's put a pin in that one for now because upon moving in, they were kind enough to provide the CC&Rs outlining what we could and could not do, but not the bylaws that told us how to handle violations and complaints. So I move in and everything is great at first. That is, until about the third month when there's a big packet taped to my door, a notice of intent to lien. The packet explains that I was delinquent on a number of violations, many of them repetitive. On the list are things like not keeping the garbage cans out of sight. We kept them on the side of the house like most neighbors. Standing water in between the sides of the home, grading issue I was fighting with the developer over, parking one of the vehicles in the driveway but over the sidewalk line, bushes not trimmed appropriately, unapproved modifications to the doorway, installing a Ring doorbell camera. The list went on, but totaled $4,032.12 for violations, late fees, and legal fees. I immediately email requesting more information and don't get a response. I do this for a few days before threatening legal action in an admittedly hostile email, to which I finally get a response indicating that all communication regarding violations will only be addressed via communication methods approved in the bylaws. I request a copy of the bylaws. All requests for the bylaws must be submitted via approved communication methods as per the bylaws. At this point, I'm about to go postal, but if Edmond Dantes could wait 14 years for revenge, I could take a breath and figure this out. The notice gave me 45 days, and it had only been a couple of days. I had time to figure this out. Little known fact about developers and HOAs in Florida, the developer is the one that drafts the initial CC&Rs, bylaws, and legal documents, then hands it off to the board. My developer, whose name starts with D and ends with a word that sounds like Schmorten, was already on my crap list for a number of issues, including the improper grading. When I emailed my contacts requesting a copy of the bylaws, I didn't think they wanted to add to the growing list of crap I was vehemently emailing them about already, and I had a copy within minutes. That's when I found the certified mail language. Now, the wheels were turning, because it stated all communication was to be by certified mail. Each violation was to be filed separately and delivered by certified mail. Each notice of failure to cure and the late fee certified mail. Everything. I had 8 unique violations, plus repeat violations over a period of 9 weeks. At a minimum, I should have received like 22 notices via certified mail at around $7 a pop. Cue Malicious Compliance. My revenge, Malicious Compliance, was two-pronged. My morality has developed to a fashion that if you want to wrongfully take from me, I am willing to spend just as much as you want to fight you. They wanted $4,000 from me. I was willing to spend a good amount of that just to F with them. I took off 2 days from work and prepared a little game of F around and find out. So step 1 was to draft a single page, no personal details, but explaining my situation and warning any neighbors going through something similar what the bylaws indicated, and that all homeowners should immediately request a copy of the bylaws via certified mail. I provided the board address, the language to include, which stipulated that the response from the board, even if it was a copy of the bylaws, was to be by certified mail, meaning a printed copy of the bylaws, which was 29 pages. I also encouraged anyone fighting infractions or having received a notice of intent to lien what to do. I printed about 150 copies because that's how many houses were in the neighborhood, roped in a few close neighbors, and we stuck a notice on about every door. Step 2 was to fight each violation individually. I drafted template language indicating that I was refuting each violation, some more boilerplate language on why I was refuting it, and the coup de grace, a final addendum formally requesting a copy of receipt of delivery for each notice having been delivered via certified mail, as per the bylaws. I customized each one specific to the violation and copied in any specific language from the CC&Rs that proved I was not in violation, and sent 23 certified letters, 22 for violations, and an extra one that was a notice of contest for the lien. Here's another little tidbit about Florida law. HOAs operate under something called rebuttal presumption, meaning any request for official records had to respond within 10 business days. I sent the letters on a Thursday, and each letter included a request for official records, a copy of the record of delivery. They had 2 weeks. About a week and a half later, I got a very strongly worded email basically saying all of the violations were valid and that I had another 25 days to comply or they would pursue the lien. I responded tersely. All communications regarding violations must be done in approved communication methods, as per Article 9, communication methods, as per the bylaws. They had a few days to draft a response and include the records I requested and mail them to me, certified and individually, as per the bylaws. They never did. So I sent 23 more follow-ups indicating they had violated the Florida Homeowners Association Act, breach of the bylaws, and intended to pursue legal action if they did not cease and desist. I wish I could tell you I know what happened to them during that time frame or what it was like for them, but we heard from a man married to one of the board members that something like 100 of the homes requested a copy of the bylaws via certified mail, on top of the fact that they had active liens on several homes for violations, as well as 20 more homes that had been issued a notice of intent to lien. Everyone was now fighting them via certified effing mail. In the end, the HOA had a change of members that resulted from the legal fees and expenses incurred by having to respond to each violation via certified mail, drying up the reserve. Turns out that the board hadn't sent a single notice of violation via certified mail, and in most cases had never notified the homeowners at all, and assumed the threat of a lien would just get them to pay whatever fines there were. Why were they doing this, you might ask? Simple. There was an undeveloped lot of land at the front of the neighborhood facing a main road, in front of the homes of the first people to move into the neighborhood, coincidentally where most of the board lived. The developer had held onto the plot and was intending to sell it to a commercial developer, but had offered to sell it to the neighborhood at a premium. These scumbags didn't want a gas station going up in front of their homes and were racking up violation fees from their effing neighbors to afford the purchase through the HOA. The lien on my home never materialized, and while I never admitted it was me, word must have gotten around because, within 2 weeks, the developer, who had been dragging their feet for months on my complaints, did everything. My entire house was regraded on both sides, with French drains put in for added measure. The sides were completely resodded, and everything else was taken care of. I only stayed there for like 8 months total before an offer came in that made me give the finger to short-term capital gains and peace out. All in all, I sent 46 certified letters. I think I spent like $350 and 2 days of PTO. Best money I ever effing spent. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called Falene. It says, I have a friend whose hobby is fighting her HOA through state law. I'm grateful that both my neighbors and my current HOA board are chill and actually useful. But finding out who the local anti-HOA experts are is so useful. Good job fighting the good fight, and everything I've heard about Florida makes me wonder why anyone lives there. Another commenter down below called Sequel said, "This is amazing, great job. As a non-American, I really can't fathom the reach and authority the HOA has. Sounds like a local government to me." OP responded and said, "That's basically what they are. It's meant as basically a civil body to manage common areas and make sure nobody paints their home some Pepto-Bismol pink and ruining property values. So think of a neighborhood with a community center and a pool. HOA would manage that. The problem is, most of these cookie-cutter neighborhoods don't have common areas, and so you just get a bunch of D-heads with too much free time that terrorize their neighbors." Alright, well, I'm up in Canada and I've never lived in an area that had an HOA. In fact, I can't offhand think of an area around me that actually does have an HOA. It doesn't seem to be as prevalent up here as it is down in the USA, where it seems to be everywhere. So those of you listening right now who are actually in an HOA, could you comment down below on YouTube or on Spotify and let me know why, in God's name, you bought a property in that HOA? Because all of these stories we read, those HOAs are of just a pain in the butt. Let me know if there are actually some good ones out there, because we really don't hear about those on Reddit at all. This story comes to us from Aromatic Scratch 3481. 6 minutes? Really? I drive a semi for a living right now. I'm in the first 1 to 2 years of the crap stage before switching over to towing these monsters. I work for a company I'll call Welfare Expedited. They suck, but I have to put up with it until other companies will take me. So I get a load of drywall in New Hampshire and haul it down to New Jersey for a building supply store. I did everything legally possible to get it there in their delivery window, even cooking my books a little bit. As soon as my legally required split sleeper berth break was done, I drove straight there without stopping. I got to my sleep spot with 20 minutes to spare the night before. GPS said I'd be there at about 12:30, but the truck GPS doesn't account for traffic. Heading through the Bronx and over the GW Bridge, all said and done, I arrived at the drywall place at 2:06. Their delivery window is 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Up until this point, no one has ever cared about 30 minutes at these places. I generally call if I'm going to be more than 15 minutes late. I figured no one would care about 6 minutes. I was wrong. I walk in and say the usual, "Hey, I'm with Welfare Expedited. Where do you want me to park?" The guy behind the counter, guy number 1, looks at another guy and asks, "What do you think?" I don't hear what guy number 2 says back, but guy 1 replies, "Sorry, the cutoff is 2 p.m. It's 2:06. Yeah, the cutoff is 2 p.m. You're serious? I have to come back tomorrow over 6 minutes? Yeah, sorry." He seemed to know it was absurd, but didn't speak up. Wow. Now, it's not that they couldn't unload me. The forklift drivers were right there, nothing was going on, and their workday didn't end until 4 p.m. They had 2 hours left. Unloading with their forklifts would take around 10 minutes. Me moving the heavy tarps and securement, alone if they asked me to rush, I could have had everything out of the way in 20 minutes. I could have been gone by 2:45 easy. Not ideal, but doable. They know that. This is their business. They have 5 flatbed delivery trucks themselves. If a Karen tries to shop after closing and retail workers want to go home, I get that. I never show up to a restaurant within 30 minutes of closing. I don't order pizza within 30 minutes of closing. That's worker to worker respect. But here, I'm the one being forced to go home late. These guys were going to be there for 2 more hours anyway. This was just one guy's way of feeling powerful. The power of saying 6 minutes of their time was worth more than a minimum of 16 hours of mine unpaid. They knew I'm paid by the mile. They knew they were costing me a day of pay, and they still said no. I honestly thought they were joking. So I missed out on hundreds of dollars over 6 minutes. My company then took my next run away from me because of this. What would have been drop Thursday, pick up Thursday night, drop Friday morning, pick up Friday whenever, go home, deliver Monday, turned into drop Friday, pick up Friday, go home, drop Monday. So I went to a rest stop 10 minutes away and hung out until about 1:40 p.m. Friday. I pulled in at 1:56 p.m. Just to show how petty these people were, they had me sit until 2:20 before even telling me where to park. That's well after 2:06. It wasn't about their time, they screwed me over just to feel powerful. The cutoff for deliveries is 2 p.m. They close at 4. So I took my sweet time removing the tarps and securement. The same guy who told me no the day before came out twice to ask me to hurry up. Can you take the tarps off now and roll the straps later? Nah. Well, just warning you, we leave at 4. Okay. So there they were, sitting on forklifts in the hot sun. Thursday had been cool and rainy, perfect weather to do this job, but now it was blistering hot. Meanwhile, I'm taking a 20-minute crap in their bathroom, grabbing multiple water breaks in my truck. Eventually, a guy from the back office, who I hadn't seen the day before, came out and stripped all the plastic wrap off for me. He looked frustrated, but I just rolled up my straps nice and neat. I admit I dragged it out. They didn't even start unloading me until around 3:30. I was aiming for 3:50. I noticed the back office guy talking to the guy who had called the cutoff at 2:06 the day before, and he looked pretty animated. Then I took my sweet time with the paperwork in my truck. They gave it back to me all crumpled, like maybe someone had thrown it in the trash in frustration. I hung out until 4:06, waiting for a safe moment to pull out so they could close their fence. I never got back the hundreds of dollars of that wasted day, but on day 2, I did notice the hot parking lot smelled like piss for some reason. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called Unknowable State Ranger. It says, "Why the F didn't you just drop your trailer and drive away? I'd have dropped that effer and parked a few blocks away until dispatch started blowing up my phone. Laugh out loud, first in line for tomorrow." I've mentioned this after a couple of other stories, but in the Karma Stories Discord, we have a couple of truckers who like to tell stories about how they get screwed over all the time. So if you want more trucking stuff, come on over to the Karma Stories Discord. It is linked in the bottom of every single episode on YouTube, and I'll toss the link on Spotify today as well. This story comes to us from Primary Ladder 8310. Okay, fine, I'll just sit here. If you've read my last few posts in this subreddit, they all seem to deal with truck driving. This one is shorter, but no different. I mainly drove central and eastern PA, southern New York, New Jersey, Delaware, northeast Maryland, and sometimes eastern Ohio, and southern Connecticut and Virginia. Unfortunately, that region puts me in several cities: Philadelphia, Wilmington, New York, Richmond, and Baltimore, as well as slightly smaller cities like Harrisburg, Trenton, Dover, Newark, and everything in between. The thing to realize as a driver in the city is people hate or don't care about trucks. In their mind, we are just a large, slow-moving annoyance and something to get around so they can get their latte and go about their day. They don't realize the danger of cutting off trucks or stopping short in front of one at speed, or that I can't always see you while driving or backing. So as a truck driver, you are always on alert for danger. Initially, I hated driving in the cities, but eventually got used to it. I would be backing up slowly to enter or exit an alley, and people would pull up and park directly behind me, or walk directly behind the truck. You learn to judge each situation on a case-by-case basis. Usually, your best case scenario is to keep going slow until you're 100% sure you're going to hit something, then stop if absolutely necessary. Case in point, I'm loaded with roofing materials for a commercial roofing job. I'm driving our largest truck in the fleet, a twin-stick Mack with a 42-foot boom crane. This thing was big. It had wide flotation tires on the front axle. If you don't know what they generally are twice the width and diameter of regular truck tires and tend to float on a dirt surface rather than sink in like a normal tire would due to the extra large footprint. The upside is they were able to support much more weight without sinking in the ground. The downside is turning radius. This truck was 20 feet shorter than an 18-wheeler with the 53-foot trailer, but had the same turning radius. So this one day in 1997, I am headed to a delivery just outside of Philadelphia, Upper Darby to be exact. I'm at a high-traffic signaled intersection traveling south, and I have to turn right to head east. Each corner had 2 straight-through right turn lanes, one in each direction, and dedicated left turn lane signaled. As normal, I approach the red light, stopping about 50 feet short of the light. Once the left turn lane clears, I can then swing left before turning right. This is the proper way to make a turn of this nature. A lot of times, I see trucks turn right from the left turn lane, and that is illegal and wrong because it allows traffic to come up on your right side. The proper way is to approach in the right lane, swing wide left when clear, then turn right. However, I notice as I'm waiting for the lights to do their thing and my opportunity to make my turn, this lady pulls well over the white line of the left turn lane on the east side of the intersection. So as traffic clears and I make the turn, I cannot complete it because she is too far forward in her lane. So I have to stop mid-turn. For those unaware, at major intersections, there is a thick white line painted across the intersection defining where you are supposed to stop if the light is red. This allows trucks and emergency equipment to make the turn as needed. This helps keep traffic flowing. Now, back to the story. I signal to the lady to back up so I can complete the turn, and she signals back, no. She is the only car there, no one behind her. I signal again, and she furiously signals no. Malicious compliance initiated. I put the truck in neutral, set the brakes, shut the engine off, and just sit there. Traffic in the north and southbound lanes are squeezing behind the truck. Eastbound can only turn right, and no other traffic can move. She can't move, I can't move, I'm paid by the hour, she is not. A few light cycles go by, and traffic is completely jammed. Of course, the police were called. I could tell by the cop's demeanor that it was reported that a truck was blocking the intersection, because the first thing he did when he got there was order me to back up. Here's the rub. As a truck driver, if I back up and hit anything, I am liable no matter the circumstance, even with someone guiding me. Hence, a police officer cannot legally tell me to back up. So I tell him no. He then tucks tail and orders the lady to back up, and she argues with the cop. I could not hear what was said, but I imagine the word ticket was involved, which she qualified for by disobeying traffic control devices. Finally, she backs up as I start up the truck again and complete my turn in the allotted space. I never saw her or the cop again and laughed for a few miles as I headed to the job site. I don't know if she ever got a ticket, but just another day driving a truck that made me smile. I don't understand this mentality of hating on truck drivers. These are people that are moving around all the goods and stuff that you buy from stores. They move your food, they move your clothing. They honestly keep everything running for us by moving all of our goods around. It's really not that hard to back up a few feet to give a truck more room to make it around a corner. If I'm pulling up to a left-hand turn and I can see that there's a truck on my left that's trying to make the right-hand turn going down past where I am, yeah, I'll stay back from that light and give them that extra room to turn, even if they don't really need it. It just makes it easier for them, and I respect our truckers. Alright, I think we'll end this one here. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow us on your preferred podcasting platform. And if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. Please, it really does help us out. I thank you all for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.